back to the pit wall part. We're heading straight to Suzuka, where the 2026 Japanese Grand Prix gave us everything. Speed, strategy and just a little bit of chaos. From heart-stopping overtakes to wait what just happened moments, this race had us on the edge of our seats the whole time. The drivers were pushing to the limit, the teams were playing high-stakes chess, and Suzuka once again proved why it's one of the most iconic tracks in the world. So buckle up, because we're breaking it all down. The drama, the heroes, the heartbreak, and yes, that moment everyone's talking about. Let's get into it. Alright, let's kick things off with FP1 at Suzuka, and oh, we are so back. The cars hit the track Friday morning, and straight away it was action. Queues in the pit lane, everyone eager, everyone curious, and honestly, a little chaotic already. But at the front, it was George Russell laying down a statement lap. Fastest in FP1, just edging out his teammate Kimi Antonelli by the tiniest margin. Mercedes 1-2 to start the weekend, yeah, that's scary for the rest of the grid. And let's not forget Antonelli is coming in hot after that win in China. The confidence is real. Behind them, Lando Norris grabbed P3 with Oscar Piastri right there in P4. A solid bounce-back start for McLaren after that nightmare double DNS last time out. Ferrari looked decent early on, with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton trading times, but they couldn't quite keep up once the soft tires came into play. Now, it wasn't all smooth sailing. We had snaps of oversteer, gravel moments, and even a bit of contact. Alex Albon having a very messy session, and a late incident involving Sergio Perez that might get looked at. Oh, and shout out to Isaac Hadjar. Scary moment early on with brake issues. Definitely want to keep an eye on going forward. So yeah, Mercedes looking sharp, McLaren recovering, Ferrari lurking, and Suzuka already throwing curveballs. And this is just FP1. Okay, FP2 at Suzuka, and things just got very interesting, because this time it's not a Mercedes on top, it's Oscar Piastri who comes out swinging. P1 in FP2, fastest lap of the day, and honestly, that lap looked clean. He edges out, you guessed it, the Mercedes duo again, with Kimi Antonelli in P2 and George Russell in P3. So yeah, Mercedes still right there, but McLaren just fired a warning shot. And let's talk momentum. Piastri versus Antonelli is quietly becoming the storyline this weekend. Now, Lando Norris had a bit of a slow start, stuck in the garage for a while, but still recovered to P4. Not bad at all considering. Ferrari, a bit mixed. Charles Leclerc P5, Lewis Hamilton P6, but Lewis on the radio saying he's got no confidence in the car. That's not what you want to hear on a track like Suzuka. And the chaos? Oh, don't worry, it's still there. Alex Albon having another rough session, traffic issues, even stopping on track briefly. Sergio Perez finally getting out of repairs from FP1 damage. A weird moment between Franco Colapinto and Max Verstappen. That's now under investigation. And poor Arvid Lindblad. Session basically over before it even began, with a gearbox issue. So where does that leave us? McLaren looks fast, Mercedes looks consistent, Ferrari still searching, and Suzuka still delivering absolutely chaos. Heading into qualifying simulations that is shaping up to be tight. Now heading into FP3. This is where things get serious. Final practice, last chance to dial everything in before qualifying. And Mercedes, yeah, they showed up in a big way. It's Kimi Antonelli on top this time, and not by a tiny margin either. He goes fastest with a seriously impressive lap, nearly 3/10 clear of his teammate George Russell. That's a statement, a real one. And what's even more striking, the gap to everyone else. Charles Leclerc in P3 is over 8/10 behind. 8/10 at Suzuka is massive. That tells you everything about how strong Mercedes look right now. The session itself started a bit slowly. Not a lot of cars out early, everyone taking their time, but once the laps started coming in, the pace ramped up quickly. Ferrari had their moment early on with Lewis Hamilton and Leclerc trading fastest laps, but once Mercedes turned things up, it was game over. Antonelli was the first to really break that 130 barrier, and from there it just escalated. Back and forth briefly with Russell, but in the end the young Italian just had that extra edge. Confidence, precision, speed. It's all clicking right now. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri could only manage P4 this time. Still solid, still in the mix, but not quite matching that raw Mercedes pace we saw. And then there's Lando Norris. Honestly, a frustrating session. After already having issues earlier in the weekend, more problems kept him in the garage for most of FP3. He finally got out late, but P6 and over a second off the pace, not ideal heading into quali. There was also a few nervy moments out there. Traffic through 130R caused some complaints, and Ollie Behrman had a huge scare at Spoon Curve. Spinning but somehow keeping it out of the wall. Hard-in-mouth stuff. Further down, Sergio Perez had another messy moment with a trip through the gravel, and the Aston Martin just looked completely off the pace. More than 4 seconds down. So heading into qualifying, the picture is getting clearer. Mercedes are not just quick, they are dominant right now. Antonelli versus Russell is heating up internally. And honestly, they look like the team to beat by a serious margin. McLaren are still there, Ferrari are hanging on, but unless something changes, this might be Mercedes' pole to lose. Alright, now this is where everything came together. Qualifying at Suzuka, high pressure, no mistakes allowed, and once again it's Kimi Antonelli delivering when it matters most. Pole position, back-to-back poles, and honestly, he made it look comfortable. That 128.7 lap in Q3 was just clean, sharp, and fast. He nailed it on the first run, and even though he didn't improve at the end, no one could touch it. That's confidence, that's control, that's a driver in form. Right behind him, it's his teammate George Russell in P2, but almost 3/10 off. The gap might not sound huge, but around Suzuka, that's serious. Still Mercedes locking out the front row. They are in a league of their own right now. Then you've got Oscar Piastri in P3 doing a solid job as the closest challenger. McLaren are clearly in the fight, but just lacking that final bit to take it to Mercedes over one lap. Behind him, Charles Leclerc in P4, but that could have been more. He was on a strong lap in Q3 and then just snap. A moment of oversteer and it's gone. That's Suzuka. It punishes even the smallest mistakes. Lando Norris ends up P5, not bad considering his messy practice sessions, and Lewis Hamilton in P6. Still not quite looking comfortable in that Ferrari. But honestly, the biggest shock, Max Verstappen out in Q2, P11. That's the end of his pole streak at Suzuka, 4 years in a row gone, and his reaction says us all. Completely undrivable. Something is seriously off at that Red Bull in this weekend. And there were surprises everywhere. Arvid Lindblad sneaking into Q3, Gabriel Bortoleto continuing to impress, while drivers like Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso were out early. So heading into race day, it's a Mercedes front row lockout, Antonelli on pole, Russell right there, Piastri ready to challenge, Ferrari lurking, and Verstappen way down the grid with something to prove. Suzuka race day is about to be very interesting. And now the race. Suzuka delivered big time because this wasn't just a win, this was a statement. Kimi Antonelli taking the victory, takes back-to-back wins and takes the championship lead, becoming the youngest leader in history. That's huge. But it didn't start that way. Off the line, it was actually Oscar Piastri who absolutely nailed the start. Straight into the lead at turn 1, while both Mercedes dropped back. For a moment, it looked like this was McLaren's race to control. Then came the fight back. George Russell started applying pressure. The Mercedes pace clearly there, but just couldn't quite get past Piastri. And while all that was happening, Antonelli was quietly working his way back into contention. And then the turning point, crash for Ollie Behrman. Safety car deployed. This changed everything. Antonelli hadn't pitted yet. Perfect timing. He dives in, comes back out, and suddenly he's leading the race. Just like that, strategy masterclass. From the restart, flawless. He controls it, pulls away, and just disappears up the road. No mistakes, no pressure, just pure pace. By the end, over 13 seconds clear. Dominant, absolutely dominant. Behind him, Piastri still brings it home in P2. A fantastic recovery after missing races earlier this season. That's his first finish of the year and straight onto the podium. And then Charles Leclerc grabs P3 after a proper fight with Russell late in the race. That battle? Intense. Russell had to settle for P4 and just could feel the frustration, especially with that safety car timing. Without it, who knows how this race plays out. Lando Norris comes home P5 after a scrappy weekend, battling hard with Lewis Hamilton who finishes P6 after some late race drama and lockups. Further back, Pierre Gasly deserves a shout. Holding off Max Verstappen for most of the race, that's not something you see every day. So when it's all said and done, Antonelli leads the championship. Antonelli is officially the real deal. And after a weekend like this, the 2026 season just got very interesting. The Drivers' Championship top 5. Kimi Antonelli with 72 points. George Russell with 63 points. Charles Leclerc with 49 points. Lewis Hamilton with 41 points. And Lando Norris with 25 points. Then we have the Constructors' Championships top 5. Mercedes 135 points, Ferrari 90 points, McLaren 46 points, Haas 18 points, and Alpine 16 points. Is a wrap on an absolutely wild weekend at Suzuka. From practice sessions where every team took turns at the top, to a chaotic qualifying full of surprises, and finally a race that completely flipped the script. This one had everything. Kimi Antonelli leaves Japan not just with a win, but with a championship lead, making a massive statement in just his second year in Formula 1. Behind him, Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc complete the podium after a seriously intense fight to the flag. And honestly, the biggest takeaway, this title fight is already heating up. But now we take a break because there's a break coming up in the calendar. With there now being a break in the calendar during April, the 2026 F1 season will resume at the Miami Grand Prix on the weekends of May 1st to 3rd. Head to Race Hub to find out how you can follow the action from the Miami International Autodromo. And before you go, don't forget to like, follow and subscribe for more. My Instagram is @EmpoweredPaddock, TikTok around the world in 24 tracks. YouTube lights out with Hanne, and Spotify the Pitwell Pod. We'll see you in Miami, where the heat is only going to turn the championship up even more.